So, hey guys, I think we are live. Is there anyone who can send us a message if we are?
Let's see.
See
Awesome.
some familiar faces in the list of people. The chat, yes, Fjatar.
Yeah.
All right,
Yes.
we should wait I think a minute or two, and then we can start. Um, yeah, we don't have a nice wedding music or something like that. So maybe Quint, do you have a good story for us today? You're full of good
I have
stories.
some good jokes. I have some good jokes. No, unfortunately, I don't. I'm not that like the guy that can make instant good jokes. I have to have like the context of the evening and the storytelling. At least at the last PPC summit, I lost based on storytelling, so there was some room for improvement over there. I think
And we needed Sam, our host.
he is like one of the
He's good.
best
He's
hosts I
good.
ever saw. Yeah, he was actually
Yeah.
really good. Is he like American native as well?
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
living in Prague, but he's a stand-up comedian.
Oh,
Not full
really?
time because he's our head of marketing, but he's also a stand-up
Great.
comedian. So that's like
Oh,
his hobby. So that's why he loves, doing these things.
that's funny. Yeah, because he was actually he was pretty funny as well, and
Yeah, and
nice.
he had to tone it down because we needed to like get the feel. But next time, I think he will have a lot more jokes.
Yeah, yeah. So he's already being booked for next year. Event.
Yeah. He will be the host again.
Yeah, nice.
So I don't have to.
Yeah, exactly. Very good.
Great, very good. Great to hear. Yeah, I think yeah, we can start off. So let's dive in directly. Today we have Frederik Boysen here from Profit Metrics. I think the tool is speaking for themselves. But yeah, I think if Frederik can introduce himself a little, why he started the company, then we can go to Quint.
Sure. Yeah, and thank you for the invite. My name is Frederik. I'm the CEO and founder of Profit Metrics. I'm from Copenhagen, Denmark. So I'm sitting at home right now, just like you, Ruben, I can see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I founded Profit Metrics because I came from the e-commerce space, being primarily an owner of different e-commerce businesses, where I just saw a lot of problems with the way we were actually measuring. I made a huge amount of errors in terms of being profitable, not being profitable, always waiting for the numbers to come back from an accountant, getting them too late, using just an average margin on the revenue, thinking that is good, but that is changing over time. So from all of those mistakes I made, I found out that this is just actually a general thing in the market, how people are doing it. And from that, I then sold my last company and went full time into Profit Metrics to build it into a tool. And today we have companies and agencies around the world. We're working with thousands of e-commerce businesses and agencies, helping with solving these problems I had, or at least that's where we started.
Yeah, great. I think you don't need to introduce yourself, but yeah, we are from Taskforce pretty happy with the tool and always keen to develop it with you guys. And I think yeah, it's one of the best tools out there for us as e-commerce marketers.
For sure.
For sure. And Quint, do you want to introduce yourself, or do
Yeah,
I?
yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not a founder of a nice tool, but my name is Quint van Meer, 31 years old. I live in the Netherlands, close to Alkmaar. Started as a Google Ads specialist around almost 9 years ago. Worked at three different agencies. Started freelancing 3 years ago. Started working together with Taskforce as a freelancer 2 years ago. And started as a managing director last May. I'm very happy to be so, but I'm still falls deep in the Google Ads accounts as well because I position myself a little bit as a Google Ads nerd. I love Google Ads. I love thinking, training other agencies, our own team with it. So it's definitely something I will still be doing next to my function that I'm currently having.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, cool. Thank you guys for the introduction. I think people that are joined today, they send in some statements, some challenges, some issues where they are running against to. I think we are do it one by one, and I will ask you guys your opinion about those statements. I will try to give my opinion as well, and then maybe we can add some value to thinking process of you guys, and to see where we can help out each other. So I have like 6 or 7 questions. If you guys have some questions, maybe profit metric related or other things, you can share it in the chat, of course. And from there we can pick it up. If we have time, then we can do it, of course. So I will try to see where I can put up the first question. Maybe I can do public question, post question. Can you see, guys? Can you see the question?
Yep. I see it popping up.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, we got a question from somebody. They are running some Google Ads accounts, of course, and they had recently, had a few problems because Shopify customers who don't have the premium Shopify subscription, they can track the checkout page. That's something we are running against also. So basically, I will ask you guys how you, in this case, can build around that, and how you can do that the best way possible.
Yeah, I can take that one. I actually thought with extendability that you were going away from that you needed a Shopify Plus, because if you go into and make a custom pixel, then you can actually get access to all of these events, also initiate checkout and all of these events. If you have enabled, I know that if you have enabled Shopify to have consent, which is the compliant way to do it in EU, then you only get access to subscribe to these marketing events if there is given consent, so the Shopify API have consent. But once it have that, you can, in the custom pixel, you can subscribe to all of these events. So it could be a checkout, I cannot remember, it's purchase something, but you also have the initiate checkout and the things that you normally didn't have when people are filling out. I don't think you can track the individual fields, but you can see that people are on this step.
Yeah, you can see actually that they went to the step indeed.
Yeah.
But it's still impossible to debug it in GTM because it just doesn't load up GTM to see if it actually works. So that's a nice tip I always give to people is like when you have a new client, the client is a Shopify client, you can use the Google and YouTube app to sync it. Of course, there are different ways to sync it as well. But a nice feature is that you can actually create a Google Ads account via that app, and then you instantly get like a voucher code of 400 euros of media budget. So you already start with plus 400 euros. That's always nice because then you can actually achieve a little bit less ROAS, but it will compensate. And however, that's a nice bonus. But I think the real bonus and added value is in that Shopify instantly plugs in all the e-commerce conversions in the account itself. Of course, you have to set it up manually to make sure that it doesn't optimize on all the conversions itself. Then you already have established a baseline with the add to cart, start checkout, few items, search, etc., and the purchase eventually. But those are like the two things I normally use. But if you really want to make that start checkout visible, then you need to like buy, I think, templates like Luc van Nuchteren has those kind of templates. I think Bob Meyer recently launched some in the PPC hub as well.
He just did. Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah,
and the one he launched was listening to those marketing. I think they are called customer events, where you subscribe to them, and then they are sent out to the data layer, and then you can pick them up from a GTM.
Yeah, and it's also all that things is that server side too with the enhanced conversions as well, or is it still the old way, old-fashioned way?
It will be. I think those is normally just browser enhanced conversions. So you need to have a tool like Profit Metrics or similar to get those fully server side, because those you need to pick them out. First party user data out from the API from the actual orders, and then make sure you still have consent.
Yeah,
or at least
always
attract
make sure.
that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Otherwise,
Of course.
profit metrics doesn't work as well.
No, exactly.
I found
Yeah,
out that the hard
we
way.
make everything as default listening to consent. Of course, users can set it up differently if they don't want to, because we also have users that are in the States. Maybe it's a European client where they're selling in the States, then they don't want those settings to be there, or outside of EU where it's not required. So we of course have the options of opting out of these things if you are in regions where you don't want it. We are data processors, so it's up to the client, but we always make everything so people don't have to do anything to be compliant with consent banners and so on.
That's great.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's great tips to build around this issue they got. So I think we can go to the next question. In this case, it was more like not about tracking something like that, but it's more like how to convince the board or the MT or the CFO to try out or invest in new options or features or tools to other next to sticking to what you already do in this case, because you need some convincing power, of course, to invest some money in the thing. So Quint, can you explain how we do that for our clients in this case, and how do you convince us to buy some tools, to try some tools to make your life easier?
Yeah. Okay. So these are like there are two different things here, I think. So
Yeah.
buying tools that makes our life easier, or convincing the boards to try out new options like AI Max, for example. Yeah. Okay. So as always, I think it's a little bit dependable regarding on some different variables. Like if you have 2K a month to spend in your ad account, it's not very applicable to like A/B test 30% of your ad budget, because if it's not performing as you would have expected, you have a problem with your client. So I think it's always nicer to do it in accounts where you have like more room in the budget, but also where you already have a good sentiment with the board, with the client. You're already achieving targets month on month, year on year. So they do give you some space to try out new features. Like for example, on AI Max, I also A/B tested it in different accounts in different ways. Unfortunately, 8, 9 out of 10 times it didn't work out as I hoped it would have worked out. And that's, I think, it's another angle. Like, I got like a love-hate relationship with Google because I think they roll out a beta, such as AI Max, just to make that as an example. However, it's called a beta for a reason. It's not actually working perfectly. So they're just launching it, getting enough data of everybody that is going to try it, going to give feedback on it. And then like 6 months later or a year later or whatever, some betas are taking for ages, I have the idea at Google. Then they launch like the real product or the definitive product. So if you have accounts with not a lot of budget, I would always recommend don't test it, because it's still in beta and it won't probably perform much better than you're already doing. And B, if you want to test it, then test it out in some bigger accounts where you have some more room. You're already hitting the targets. And of course, if you can create a case in one account and you can show, hey, we tested it in this account, we actually saw an increase of, I don't know, 20% in POAS year on year, then you have a case. And it's much easier to convince your clients with data/case, where you can just say, hey, we tested it here, these were the results. We want to test it out here for you as well, because we are expecting the same sort of results. So I think those three things you can take into account. And of course, if you really want to test a feature, you can always try to set up like for search, at least you can do a good A/B test, and then you can say, hey, my B variant is just getting like 10 or 15% of the daily budget instead of doing a real 50-50 split. However, most of the time you will see in those accounts where you don't have enough budget, you won't have enough conversions, and the smart bidding will not flourish eventually, and then you're having not like a real good incremental A/B test.
Yeah, Okay, yeah, I think that's a good solution. And Frederick, I think this is also applying to, yeah, because of your, of course, an owner of an e-commerce tool, in this case, Profitmetrics. I think it's, yeah, more or less sometimes a little bit harder to convince your clients to use it with smaller
Hmm.
budgets. How are you guys trying to do that in this case?
It's often you guys who are actually doing it for us, so that's a big help. But I would say maybe we are sometimes, it can be a little. Let's say it was channelable. If someone were using you guys, you say that you have to have channelable because we have to do something in the feed, or if I know you guys are
Mhm.
using channelable, but it could be data feed watch or something else. You need a feed tool to do some things because otherwise you cannot be productive. You cannot build all the tools yourself, or the developer most likely cannot build all of them, all of the options you want. So there is those must have for doing the work, where I see that profit metrics is for some becoming a must have in terms of like the tracking solution. We need to have this. But in terms of selling it in, I think often the sell is easier within that company because the company understand once they look at, yeah, but we cannot pay our bills with revenue. We have to pay our bills with the profit coming out of that revenue. So when we don't really know this, how can our agency allocate the money the best way from us if they don't have the insight? So I think that kind of test is easier, but that's also why we in Profit Metrics went and had no cancellation period. There's no setup fee. You can set it up, and my vision is to have clients and agencies there because they get the full value, not because they are in a contract or something like that. But that gives it
Mhm.
an easy way to go in and maybe not see a ton of value because you need to get the data rolling in the Google Ads account, but you can at least get an idea pretty fast without you have the 14-day free trial, but also within a month or two, determine is this something we are going to use in the business? Because then it's just an easier sell. But I think the part with the profit makes it a lot easier than if it was only, and now we're actually
Yeah,
launching an attribution tool, but an attribution tool could probably for a CFO or someone within that e-commerce business be a little bit, yeah, but do we need this? But if you start talking about real business outcomes, they often understand the importance of it.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So it sells themselves in this case because it's a no-brainer to do it if it's yeah, making you money bottom line. And I
Yeah.
think that's for also applicable for agencies as well. What we try to do is we don't work with fixed contracts also. So I think that's something you shouldn't do at all. But yeah, we like to incorporate our management fee for yeah, for managing the accounts within the goals for the within the goals for the client. So every time, even with our management fee included, they should make some profit on bottom line. And I think if you can do it that way, yeah, you're selling your services for themselves, and yeah, it's a no-brainer to do that on that part.
But then you're
Um,
also putting yourself out there that you want the best for the client's business,
of
and
course,
you
yeah,
and you're on the line because if you're not managing those things, then essentially, or you're not getting those goals that you have agreed on, then you're not having that client going forward. So I think that that is the way of going forward of aligning with the business, and if you're hitting those goals, that's also where you get so deep into that client relationship, and really get to know and understand their business because you're both working against the same goal, not just
yeah,
like, yeah, we need a
exactly,
ROAS of 6, and if 6 is there, everything is good. But what is it actually bringing to the business?
Yeah.
What is that outcome that business are getting out of a ROAS of a
Exactly.
certain, yeah.
And lots of clients, like where I use profit metrics as well, they're just hyped up for the dashboard. I can tell them everything that's possible in Google Ads with it, but they don't really care because they just want to see the contribution margin, the real profit. People didn't know they were actually making what kind of profit. And I think that's also yeah, a very nice addition. I got lots of clients, they only yeah, they held me accountable for the profit metrics data. And of course, all the order data is coming in over there. So it's not, I also report based on what I see in Google Ads. But bottom line, if they see the total revenue and the total profit is increasing, month on month, year on year, they get much more value out of it.
Yeah, and I think that for the e-commerce business is also something to think about, because when I had e-commerce businesses, whenever I looked at that ad spend, I was always thinking, oh my God, I'm using a lot of money. I'm always, and when I had an agency or I had several agencies and we need to use more money, it was always like, yeah, but what are we getting out of it? Are we not using enough money? And when you suddenly have the profit, then you don't have to have that conversation as an e-commerce business with your agency. It's just like, if we can scale and make more money because we can see we're making the money, then it would actually be a missed opportunity not to scale. And again, the other way around, if it's not as profitable or it's not bringing extra profit to use those 5-10K extra a month, yeah, then you can stop it. But at least everyone can see it, and I think that gives that ability to work closer with the clients and also a better relationship with your agency.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Good. I think a small connection to what you said earlier about attribution. There was not a question from the audience, but there was a question for me because I think, yeah, we have you right now here, so let's ask it directly. Yeah, we noticed that the feature channel reporting became available a few months ago, I guess. And some
But
clients
it's not attribution. It's not attribution. Very important.
So, very important.
Not yet.
So yeah, that's the question, I guess, which I had. So I will post it over here. I hope that people can see it also.
I can explain what we have done there. I have tried to make it very, very clear, because it's dangerous. There is a lot of tools out there saying like, this is like some sort of attribution, but then you take the Meta and you take the Google and add it together and you have more than 100%. Because what I've always tried to do is, it starts with, what is the amount of orders, 100% of the orders from the back end? What is the revenue? What is the gross profit contribution margin? That is the truth where it starts and ends. That's like what have actually happened. And then it's taking down in channels. But now we have added the marketing metrics simply just so you can see the ROAS and POAS in Google and Meta and so on, and revenue and profit. But it's what we have sent into the channel, then Google have attributed it, and then we pull it out. So it's with Google attribution. But what we are testing in beta now is an attribution tool where we essentially will do it as first-party tracking. So similar to what could be Triple Whale or some of these tools. But there, the point is, if we're looking at a linear model and we had a Meta and a Google click, then it will have 50% revenue and profit to each of them. So it always matches 100%. But again, coming back to, I will never claim that attribution tool we are launching, that it can track every single customer touch point in the journey like many others are, because it's not possible. There's privacy, there's devices where you don't identify yourself. So you will never you'll not get everything, but you'll get some sort of truth that is really good in mid funnel or bottom funnel. It will never be good at attributing YouTube or prospecting ads on Meta. That you need other tools for.
Yeah. Okay. So definitely, it's split in two ways. One conversion in this case, when that's in both. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then the point of our attribution is that when you are looking at Google, you always have to look at what is in Google. When Quint is optimizing in Google, he knows that it has not looked at other channels, but this is the numbers he have to optimize. This is what the algorithm is fitting for. So let's say you had a ROAS of 5 or a POAS of 2 in Google. Then when you're looking across channels, including the other channels, what do you have there? Then you suddenly have an idea of, if I have 1.5 in POAS or 3 in ROAS, what is that when in Google, it's most likely a little bit higher. Then you can start adjusting for what happens when you look at all channels together. So we will have these columns in our attribution tool where you can see them side by side.
Yeah, nice.
So you have both of them in that view.
Yeah, exactly. Because I also have some clients that they don't want to pay for attribution tool because they don't have and Pinterest and TikTok and Meta and Google Ads, but they do have for example, Google and Meta, or Google and Meta and Pinterest, but they don't have spends of 20 or 30K. They perhaps have spend of 10, 15K. Then certain tools like Billy Gray's, Kickbuy, you don't really apply for it because you don't hit threshold of the amount of sessions. So what I mostly do for those clients where I'm at least responsible for my minimum of one channel, we implement like a marketing efficiency rate tracker, and then we can just try to optimize from there. So if we're actually seeing, hey, we're hitting this Meer, this MER, okay, next month let's try to upskill Neda with €1,000 extra ad budget. What will it do in the end with the overall performance? Can we find significance over there? Because sometimes you just spend 1K more, nothing happens. Like it only lowers the POAS, and sometimes you spend 1K more and it actually increases the POAS because we created more search volume. And those are like the basic approaches I use for multi-channel clients that we're responsible.
Yeah, and you don't need a data scientist always for those kind of things. It's like if you can see a trend on the back end, okay, we are going for new customers, or we are scaling up on Google. Can we actually see an increase in orders or revenue or profit or contribution margin? If you haven't done 1,000 things at once, you often can maybe not put it down to every single euro invested, but you can go in and say, okay, this were an initiative that had an impact on what we actually try to achieve, and then we try to do more of it. And unfortunately, I think that's a little bit the way we have to work in the future, because there will be things like now ChatGPT that can we see if they are starting running ads, what are they actually doing within ChatGPT? We maybe have fewer clicks, but they are converting high. So I think we need to look a little bit more holistic at the things. We cannot do what we could 10 years ago and go down on every single click and session and see who they were. And
those were the days. Those were the days.
That were the days. That were the days.
A lot easier, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Okay.
Cool. I think that's great answers to the topic we have shared. In this case, I think this is an exactly example which somebody has sent in, but I think this is a question everybody has who start to optimize on POAS. So I think this is a great one in this case. I will put it on the screen again. So what is the best way to implement profit metrics or some sort like tool like profit metrics? So how we can optimize campaigns based on the actual margin of POAS, and what is the strategy to go from ROAS to POAS? Because you don't want to do it at once, for example, and what is your advice to do that?
Should I take that one to start with, Quint? I have always, and now that it has been me who are pushing POAS so hard, out in the market, I've always, explained a lot around changing to optimizing for profit in the conversion action. So instead of using revenue conversion action in the algorithm, in the conversion value, you're actually using profit. I still believe that is amazing. But what I've started to do is also to say, you actually do profit bidding before, because if you guys, for example, in an account, you don't start shifting it right away anyways. But as soon as you have data, let's say 2, 3, 4 weeks, then you have your revenue ROAS, you have your revenue. And then once you get the POAS and you get the profit after ad spend in there, that's where you can suddenly see, hey, these campaigns are actually more profitable, the orders coming out of it. We thought we had this kind of margin. We actually, I can see that the orders are really profitable. We don't need that high target ROAS. There's more volume in the market, so we can decrease that ROAS. Or maybe people end up buying a lot of discount products or outlets or low margin products. We need a higher ROAS to make money. Already there, when you make decisions based on both revenue and profit together, I believe you're doing POAS bidding. But of course, there is the actual change to the conversion action. And there have been a lot online where people were just like, you see your ROAS versus your POAS target, and then you just change the conversion action, and then you do a little bit like this, and then 2-3 weeks after it's good. But I always recommend a conservative transition, because if we're thinking of it, Google have no idea what profit, revenue, lifetime value, or anything is. They know conversion value, conversion rate, and then they know the click price. That's how they calculate the target ROAS. So if we just say we change the conversion action and we go from 500% ROAS to 150 because now it's in profit, so it's 1.5 POAS back, then what you're actually telling Google, because Google don't understand value so fast, they will just say, okay, Ruben
Let's
and
go.
Quint, oh my God, let's
Yeah.
go, let's
Yeah.
go. And what happens is often there's not enough volume to use all of that spend. So what it does is just it changes the average CPC like crazy. It goes in every auction and try and win, and then you get those crazy CPC. So over 2-3 weeks, often when people have done it, it will learn from it, but you use a ton of ad spend that was unnecessary. So my belief is actually if it was like 500% in revenue ROAS to 150 in profit ROAS POAS, change the conversion action. Look at the average CPC, and you actually don't do anything. Because then when Google understands within a couple of days, 2-3 days, it says, hey, we're not getting the same value in. What it does is it decreases the average CPC to hit the same ROAS as before. And that's where maybe 15-20% you turn the ROAS down. And then what Google does is it increases the average CPC again. And then
Yeah.
1, 2, 3 days later, it does the same again, and you change it. So you actually go slowly, and the end goal is just that you get Google to understand the new conversion value up against the click, and you keep the kind of same click prices, because with the click prices, you'll have more or less the same value or volume. So you'll have the same revenue. So don't make any risky moves. Of course, there'll be products that just simply are losing money and Google will not spend on those. But then there will also be products or campaigns where it's much more profitable, and then Google will allocate more money there. But I think that's a conservative way of transition where you end up having the same volume, but now Google just have an understanding between click conversion rate and new profit value instead of revenue, and you don't risk any crazy budget.
Crazy
Yeah.
inflation.
Yeah, and I had today a conversation with a client, and they said they in the past they made a switch to POAS pretty instantly, not that phased out thing what you said, but what they noticed the amount of the new customers are declined a lot because of they I don't know what they did with the algorithm, but they saw that the amount of do I say that good? Yeah, the amount of new customers versus returning customers declined. And I think this also when you're doing it, too harsh, what you said. Yeah, I think that's what maybe is happening. So they switch back to ROAS instead because of they can't lose those new customers, of course.
No,
Is
no.
that something what you noticed in the past as well? Or?
Not so much around the new and existing customers, but just simply that you confuse the algorithm because you just go so crazy and saying you would never go from a ROAS of 600% to 200% from
No.
day to day. Nobody have ever done that. So the algorithm gets so confused, and then it's just start bidding into it. Probably just want to use all of the spend, and normally people have actually they're not using all of their budget. You all know that. And then Google can use is it up to 3 times the daily budget or something, or is it only 2 times? So Google will of course try to use that, and where it used the money we don't know, but we saw it under PMax in the start. Then it just went out in display. It couldn't use more in shopping, so it just went out in display, and all kind of crazy, places where the value app display and all of these things where it didn't bring any extra value in, but it just tried to spend. So we have seen some who have moved back because they didn't do it properly, and then they got scared. And that's also where I just believe start with just looking at what is the profit, start making decisions already there, removing the bad like you guys, you are the experts in segmentation. The easiest thing is even when you're optimizing for revenue, you'll have the profit on product level and the attributed profit, removing the bad products, those products that gives a low profitability or pushing the other ones harder. That's also POAS bidding, even though you haven't even made the change yet.
No, exactly. It's just steering on the data because you finally have it visible in the account. And of course, like tools like Channable nowadays also implement that if you optimize the enhanced card data function in GTM, you fill in your COGS, cost of goods sold in Channable, you get like a little bit of that data as well. But that, for example, doesn't work properly with search campaigns. So that like what you just told about how to switch from ROAS to POAS. That's how I use it again for PMax and shopping as well. But for search, however, most of the times I A/B test it. So I set up
Cool.
a A and a B variant, and the A switches or keeps on going for RAWs, the B switches for POAs. Then I let it run for a month, and then eventually, depending on which performance is best, and 9 out of 10 it's still the POAs, luckily. Then I just say, hey, apply this to the original campaign, and then it transitions all the new builded data into the old campaign, and then it will normally flow right through. So unfortunately, A/B testing for sure for shopping and PMax. You could say, for example,
Yeah,
we
but it's
launch a
hard.
new shopping campaign with a POAS target with all the same products, but then you're not actually A/B testing very thoroughly. You're just
But didn't Google actually talk about some beta where you could start A/B split testing on products and feeds
they
in
had it
shopping?
they had it live for a few weeks. I think like
Yeah.
Okay.
a month or 4 or 5 ago, but then it actually was gone pretty fast because I wanted to
Yeah.
set it up, and I heard it from one of our colleagues. Hey, it's possible to AP that shopping. I was like, yes, finally.
Yeah, finally. Yeah, finally.
Yeah.
And then it was
Yeah.
deprecated. just
Yeah,
like that.
because on products, if two products is not totally similar, how do you actually get a valid A/B split test? It's almost
Yeah,
impossible.
you could
Yeah.
do like the geo split, of course.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
something what we try to do a lot of clients because if we optimize product feeds, for example, then we would try, how can we see the difference between version A and B, and that's why we often do geo split tests. So, for example, we split up
That's
the
smart.
Netherlands in 2 parts, and it's not 100% accurate, of course, but then we have at least some data, and if we can do it over a few categories as well, then we can see the bigger picture, and then we can make choice about that. But validate A/B test within shopping. I think that's
But I
everybody's
think
waiting for.
that's probably the most valid way to do it, like you guys are doing it, because the other, how do you split? Then you have like 10 bestsellers. How do you split them? Maybe they're not giving the same, and one product is bringing in other products with it. That's the same with search. If you don't have the profit in search, or you cannot take that, what happens to all of these shopping searches, clicks, where they maybe have to make some kind of decision or look around, and then they end up on a branded search campaign and click, and that's the one who get the conversion. If you don't get that into the mix of the data-driven attribution in Google, don't get the full picture.
No, that's correct.
That's correct. Yeah. Okay, cool. I think that's a great question again, of great answers again to the question. I think we have a little more like, I think, a question for Quint. In this case, it's for the campaign setup. And but Frederik, if you have your opinion about it, we
I
would
think
like to
you
hear
should
it,
take that
of course. It's about how to determine the best optimal starting bid in any campaign. Because, of course, when you're expanding to new countries or you're expanding with new product categories, it's often pretty hard to say, okay, what is the budget we need? What is the optimal bid we can start off with? So basically not to drain all your budget in the first months when you are testing, in this case.
Yeah.
So, Quint, how do you like to approach that situation for our clients in this case?
Yeah. So I think there are like different approaches for this, depending if you already have data or it's like a total new account. So what I normally try to do is like set up a scenario. So if the company is already at least active for some months and they hopefully correctly implement a GA4 or profit metrics or some other kind of tracking solution, you at least have like a base data set of looking at the average conversion rate. If you know the average conversion rate, of course, you need to have like more than 2 or 3 conversions to have a little bit of significance over there. But let's say you get like hundreds of conversions and you see, okay, the average conversion rate is 2%. Then you can try to calculate it back from the conversion rate and the average order value. If you see, hey, we have an average order value of, let's say, 50 euros, the conversion rate is 2%, then I know I need X amount of clicks to make that conversion happen. And you can try to see, hey, how many clicks? Because let's say, okay, I need like 100 clicks for one conversion. Conversion rate is 1%. And my average order value is 50 euros. Then you at least have to have 100 clicks for a max CPC of 50 cents. but then you're just getting a break even because you don't have like the procurement buyings incorporated in that as well. So you'll probably have to take into account if the gross profit margin is around 50%. You want to have like the CPC cap of 25 cents because then you know eventually it will play out. However, everything is variable and the conversion rate of a Google Ads campaign can, of course, differentiate from somebody that's going directly to your website or watching it via organically. So I always try to like create some different scenarios. You have like the keyword planner for search. You have like the high benchmark CPC, the low benchmark CPC. I create three different scenarios. I put on a standard benchmark click-through rate on it, and then I can see if the minimum CPC is already €5, then I will say to the client, okay, this is for search, probably not doable, because then or your conversion rate has to be 20%, then it's doable. But you can actually try to calculate it based on all the data you have. And of course the keyword planner CPCs are different from like shopping CPCs. In shopping, I actually already always try to upskill, but be more conservative. So I would normally say, okay, let's start with 25 cents or 50 cents manual CPC or maximize clicks. And then you get some data, and then you get data in the account, and you get some extra columns that you can check, and that it will say like the benchmark CPC for shopping is around 25 cents. Now, then you have that data, and then you can say, okay, we want some more volume, or we want some more profit. Then of course you can say we go to 30 cents, or we go to 15 cents. So the best optimal starting bid always depends. Based on the data you have, the budget you have. We also have clients that they want to expand. They're already making lots of profit and lots of revenue. They just say, okay, you can spend 2K just by building up some data. That makes our life, of course, a little bit easier because you can build up more data, can get more conversions faster, and can switch to smart bidding as well faster. So I think something like that.
Yeah, and if you apply it in this case for search and maybe a little bit more towards keyword research, you mentioned last time, I think when we spoke together, that you have a system and for keyword research within the optimal bid, and basically you tell a story about Bob Meyer, how he does it with the intentions of the keywords. Can you elaborate a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. It's been a while ago that I watched that video, but he actually did it similar like how I did it, only he gave some extra layer on the keywords itself. So when you come from the SEO world, you got like informational, transactional, navigational, commercial related keywords, and he actually gave those labels on all that keywords, and he also tried to expand the keywords with more transactional or commercial related search terms. So we actually expanded it by saying, hey, I just want to add everywhere the word buy or order or in-house tomorrow or in-house tonight or whatever. And then you can also say, because you always want to start like bottom funnel, of course, like the most purchase intent keywords are like the most important. But after a few months, you will reach a certain sweet spot. You will hit a ceiling, because you're hitting your target POAS, you're having your maximum budget. You can go lower, but then you won't reach your profit anymore. Will get higher, but then you have to let not as much volume. So if we reach that ceiling, for one client it takes a year, for one other client it takes 6 months. But after that, I try to add like a new layer on top of it. So then you can make all kinds of informational campaigns. So what are
a little bit more mid-funnel then.
Yeah, more mid-funnel, and then I apply like a remarketing strategy between those two layers. So everybody that read a blog, for example, and you want to bid like 20 cents for those persons because they're not as much valuable, then you retarget those people with a different creative to send them to the PDP. And everybody that went on the PDP but didn't convert, you want to target them with a different creative that makes more sense. Like I'm most fan of targeting people that left the PDP without converting with UGC content, because people were actually on your website, they didn't convert. because perhaps they didn't trust you, or and if then they see, hey, all these people are talking so nice about this brand, then it should be trustworthy. However, while in like the block, so the informational to transactional layer, you want to give like perhaps more some product related USPs or benefits that people will think, hey, okay, this is interesting. Let's go to the product page again. So in that way, you can build different layers.
Yeah, I think that's the best approach to do it, and to make sure you don't waste your budget on that. And yeah, I think it's very interesting.
I think so.
Cool. Yeah, I think we're also running out of time right now. Are there any questions from the audience? I think only Guy has put a question in there about problematics. I think it's one for you, Frederik, about your attribution model and the future of the attribution model in your system. You mentioned it already, but yeah, is it?
Yeah.
We don't. Can
You
expect
haven't seen
something
it
like
yet.
no.
But it will be there soon. I'm testing it out now. We will launch it first on some Shopify clients, and then we will roll it out to everyone in a beta. But it will be similar to the other solutions. To start with, we don't have any data-driven attribution. We start with first click, last click, linear, and position-based. But my positioning of this tool will be more that it's all about transparency. What is in there? We can track what we can track. We can track everything that is technical possible and still being compliant and so on. And then once we have that layer, we will also have like new and existing customers on profit and revenue, longer look back windows. So, and we have the cross device identification, but it's just not always people do it. Not all people in top funnel actually identify themselves and then they go to another device and buy. But if they then later on identify themselves in a newsletter pop-up or something on that device, we can connect those together, but it will just never always happen. But then we will layer in and start using views and build in data-driven attribution, but it will be a part of our tool. So it will be inside the tool. So the dashboard will have it in there. We are actually also launching a new, I'm just taking here, there'll be an app. So that dashboard that all of your clients like, that I'm just going to, I have some small fixes here and then we will deploy it out, but then you will also have that attribution both for clients and the clients themselves will have that in the app.
That's cool.
Nice.
Sounds great. I think great for the future. We didn't receive any other questions, so I think we can wrap it up.
Cool.
I think a lot of value you guys shared with us, and I would like to thank you very much for your time, guys.
Thank you.
And we hope we see you soon in the Netherlands somewhere. I don't know if you attending some PPC events in the near future.
I think I will soon come. I need to go there soon again. So
Soon again.
Always good.
yeah, soon again. Soon again, I will come. I just need to find the time, but then I'll come to my favorite country.
Cool.
Very good.
Nice to hear. So yeah, we're waiting for that part. And thank you again.
Thank
Great
you.
to
Well done, Frederik.
Have a great evening, guys.
You too. See you
You
next
too.
time.
See you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.